I had someone call me the other day. It was a fabulous conversation. The guy said he's 80 years old and he's looking at the next decade of his
Oh,
career.
cool. I love it. That's
I,
awesome.
I'm, I
There
thought
you
I
go.
hung up. I'm
There
like,
you go.
that's who I want to be.
Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larson. If you haven't yet, get a copy of our book for free at our website, nextlevelincome.com. That's www.nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link, and I'll even send you a copy if you put your address in. On today's show, we have Donna Serdula. In 2009, Donna walked away from her successful sales career and founded Vision Board Media. As the pioneer of LinkedIn profile optimization, she built a successful website, LinkedInmakeover.com, more than a decade ago. In that time, she has worked with more than 6,000 executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals, utilizing a talented team of over 30 writers, coaches, and branding specialists to bring dynamic brand storytelling to the masses. She's the author of the book, LinkedIn Profile Optimization for Dummies, which I just bought. And Donna has been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, Times, Money Section, Wall Street Journal's Market Watch, LA Times, NBC, Sirius XM Radio's The Focus Group, and now the Next Level Income Show. Donna, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. So if you're listening today, you got to know I already bought Donna's book, which she has in the background there.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, exactly. Your real background, which you were talking about, which is lovely. But we have a lot to cover today, Donna. But I don't want to step on your toes. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background before you got into specializing in LinkedIn, because I know we have some overlap here, and you're going to have an overlap with a lot of the audience too, I think, today.
Yeah, I started my business in 2009, but I joined LinkedIn a few years before that. Now, when did you join LinkedIn? You were telling me before. I can't remember. What was
January 25th, 2006.
So you're an early adopter like I am.
Yeah.
I joined in 2005.
And you got me beat.
It's just by a little bit, but I remember where I was working. A gal had said, Donna, you've got to join this network. This is amazing. It's fabulous. You can get prospects and leads. You can find jobs. I mean, just opportunities galore. And I remember joining, and like, they show you like this profile and it looks like a resume. So I just copied and pasted my resume in.
Yeah.
And I was like really excited, like, come on, opportunity, hit me. I'm ready. I want a new job. I want all this great stuff. And nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was like this huge waste of time. And I was like, whatever. And, I pivoted in my career. I went from being like a sales analyst to now working in a cutthroat sales environment. I was an account manager. I was dialing for dollars, 80 calls before noon every day, trying to hit my quota, trying to that pipeline, that funnel, and it was hard work. Now, I was working in a situation where I was a seller. So I'm selling the exact same software package as my competitor.
Yeah.
And like, how do you differentiate when it's identical?
Yeah.
And that's when I had my first epiphany. I was the differentiator. People would want to buy from me versus buy from someone else.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to really realize the importance of branding, the importance of having a story. But as I was that's when I had another epiphany. Because as I was cold calling, I was always Googling that person's name. And the only pertinent result that ever popped up was LinkedIn profile.
LinkedIn,
and it always looked like a dull, dry, out-of-date resume.
Yeah.
And then I had another epiphany, which was, oh my God, if they're looking at me, or if I'm looking at them, they're looking at me.
Right.
And what do they see? And I was presenting myself in the exact same dull, boring way, which was my old resume. And that was when I said, wait, maybe I can collide with searches because I know people need my services. So if I use the right keywords, I'll pop up, more often, more frequently, higher up in the search results. Yeah. I also realized if I told the right story, people would like me. They forge a rapport sooner.
Yeah.
All of this crystallized. And in 2009, I decided, you know what, I got to do this for people because no one is recognizing what the potential is.
Yeah.
20, now I have 20 writers.
Wow.
We've written over 8,000 LinkedIn profiles.
Wow.
And a tiger by its tail, changing lives because people need help. It's so hard to write about yourself.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think, I work with a lot of surgeons, a lot of doctors from my previous career, and again in sales and medical device sales. And I've noticed I was like, I looked on, I said, hey, you only have like, it's like 50 or 300 connections. It was, to me, that was a low number, with somebody that's got thousands of connections, right? And has been working on it for, as you mentioned, for 13 years now.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I guess you really don't, as a doctor, most doctors, they don't really utilize it because they're like, oh, I work in this one system. I have my practice. They're not going out there trying to forge connections. I think, Donna, that with your sales background, with the networking and the ability to move careers, move companies, it's very competitive, right? With different commission rates, different products, and your technology, right? Same thing with medical devices. You have these new technologies that pop up. You're like, hey, this is a great opportunity, or maybe you want to go up into management leadership. I don't know. My impression is, as somebody in sales, you have a fairly unique and advantageous approach to this.
Well, someone had said to me early on in my career, and they said the only thing a salesperson has is his or her book of business.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. It's your network.
Yeah. Your network.
And your network is your net worth. So you need to make sure you capture it and you nurture it, and it's always there for you. Now, when I had made that switch in my career, I was no longer just, my clients weren't just architects and engineers, and, those type of people. It extended, but it was nice to know that my clients then could still be my clients, and they still are. They still reach out to me. And it's always about nurturing those relationships, and LinkedIn does a fabulous job. And I would also say for salespeople, right? At one time, salespeople were more of like the 1099, they didn't work directly for the company. They were 100% commission based. That's really changed over the last 20 years. They typically now salespeople, they earn a wage and then they earn the commission. So they are employees. And when you are an employee, they can turn off that contact list. They could turn off CRM.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
So you want to keep that book of business, and you can keep that book of business by making sure that as you're making relationships, I'm not suggesting aiming low and wide, and I'm not in any way suggesting downloading and importing or anything, but just simply being aware that, hey, these are relationships that you should keep for life, and make sure that they're also on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I read a great book, and this is probably why I was an early adopter on LinkedIn. I believe it was called Build Your Parachute Before You Jump. This was probably 20 years ago. I have to go look and see if that's actually the name of the book, but it was all about networking and building your network, and your network is your net worth, which, that really didn't come into play until I started interacting more with investors and those sorts of things. But it's true, right? Like every job I've gotten, and even people that ask me, they're like, oh, I've applied for these jobs. I'm like, well, who do you know there? Have you gone on LinkedIn? Have you checked this? How have the demographics changed, Donna, within LinkedIn? Who's your typical LinkedIn user now, compared to where it used to be, or what's changing? Like who's on LinkedIn?
It still is skewed older rather than younger. And I think that's something that LinkedIn is actively trying to remedy in a lot of what they're doing today, in terms of video, in terms of the news feed, in terms of, really pushing the content creation, because they do want to get more and more younger people on board.
Gotcha.
For me, I see most of my clients, they do tend to be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, we even go up to, I had someone call me the other day. It was a fabulous conversation. The guy said he's 80 years old and he's looking at the next decade of his career.
Oh, cool. I love it. That's awesome.
I thought, I hung up. I'm like, that's who I want to be. That's who I want to be.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. But it's, I do think, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, right? Because you have to have a bit of a career behind you to recognize the importance of your network.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. And, so you come in, you start your career, you got your resume up there on LinkedIn, your picture from your graduation picture or something like that. And, you mentioned initially early on, everybody was just basically a resume up there.
Yeah.
But today, what do you find that people are doing wrong? What's the number one thing you find people are doing wrong?
I think, what are people doing wrong? In some ways, Chris, some of this has not changed because it's just human nature. It's hard to write about yourself. No one wants to think about where they're going or how they're going to get there. It's just not something that most people want to exist within that level of discomfort. So what's the easiest thing? They upload a bad picture of themselves, maybe a picture snapped at wedding. They copy and paste an old, bio or their resume. They get on, they scroll through the LinkedIn feed, and they like things rather indiscriminately, like, but they're not adding to the conversation. They're not adding context. They're not really commenting. They're not giving, right?
Yeah.
Those are the things. It's in order to really make an impact on LinkedIn. And in some ways, you do have to open yourself up, and you have to be a little vulnerable. It's saying, I'm not going to copy and paste a resume. I'm going to give my story, why I do what I do, how I do what I do, why what I do is different, or how it's an impact in other people's lives. What do I stand for? What is my passion? What is my mission? Where am I really going? What I'm truly trying to accomplish. That's what I want to see in a LinkedIn profile. I love to see a trajectory that sort of unfurls. And what I mean by that is I don't like it when their person's like, I'm a CEO. I just came out of the womb, a CEO.
Right.
Like, I love to see a person who started out somewhere small, and the little incremental steps they made along the way, and the knowledge they gained, and the experiences, and some failures and some successes and some risks and some pivots. I love that. And to do that, you're really looking at a person who's transparent, who's authentic, who's real, and you're rooting for them.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's, it's a fine line, right? Because you want to be authentic, you want to be real, you want to be relatable, but you also want to be professional when it comes to these sorts of things. So one of the things I've noticed on LinkedIn is people are doing like these videos now, like a little video instead of their photo. How did that come to be? I always find that it's a little weird. I'm like, do I click on that? Do I listen to this person? What are you seeing that's popped up here in the last year or two that really can help accelerate people's goals on LinkedIn?
I do like that video. I think it's fun, but I agree with you. Like, I see it silently, and I rarely, although I did see a woman who, she actually uploaded a video of herself coming out to speak, and like, you could see her like, walking so confidently towards the microphone.
Oh, wow,
and I was like, hands down, that is the best cover video I've ever seen. I loved it. So I like that. I love right next. So you only can do this in the mobile phone, the app, that you can record your name. And so you get a little speaker next to your name. I love that, because people with, last names like myself, it makes it a little easier, but it also gives you a chance to have a person hear your voice, and you can say a little bit more because you got a full 10 seconds. So, even for you, Chris Larson, not a hard name to say, but, give a little bit of a, little elevator pitch. I love that.
I didn't even know that was available. That's super cool.
Yeah. You can even put your pronouns up next to your name if you're so inclined. You don't have to, but it's there. I think it's a great thing, because a lot of people were putting it into their name field, and that kind of skews the name results, right? So,
and I like to change my pronouns every couple months just to kind of keep people guessing. So, it really makes them. I'm just kidding. So I hope nobody's offended out there. I try to,
But some other things. Like, what are some other things? I love the featured section on LinkedIn.
Yes, that's something new that I'm not.
Very few people, but it's. I mean, suddenly you can put media up there and links out to your different online properties. That's fabulous. So it's just
Yeah,
wonderful.
I've noticed it's almost, and this is kind of how we've seen it. Things have changed on websites, right? So websites used to be basically kind of like like a brochure essentially,
Mhm.
and LinkedIn used to be basically like a resume. And now a website is interactive. You have video on there. You have, we're revamping our website now, and LinkedIn is very similar. I've noticed it's almost like its own miniature website essentially. And I think that can be overwhelming for a lot of people because they're like, well, I don't know how to build a website. I don't know how to, do this. We're going to tell people about your course, Donna, and actually kind of some new features that your company has started offering here since, just since the kind of end beginning of the year. But I love your methodology, your SOAR methodology. And I think this can help listeners kind of walk through mentally how they can put together their profile. Do you mind walking through SOAR, right?
Yeah,
SOAR
it's an
methodology?
acronym. It's
Yeah.
an acronym,
Yeah.
and it stands for. So we'll break it down because to
Yeah.
me, people look at LinkedIn and they've been looking at LinkedIn for a very
Yeah.
long time, and it's always been confusing. Confusing. No one knows where to start. What does success look like? How to even jump in. So I've tried to simplify it. So SOAR stands for, first is strategy. You need to know your goal. Now, here's the thing, Chris. We've got, people get on LinkedIn. Some of them are looking for a job. Some are looking for leads and prospects. Some are looking to be seen as an expert. Some are doing this for executive branding purposes, right? Everyone
Mm,
has a different need, but depending upon that goal that you have, your messaging changes, right? So
that makes
let's
sense. Yeah.
say like you're on salesperson. You don't want to be
Yeah.
on talking about how you love to prospect, how you love to close. You have no
Right.
problem asking for money, right? Because that would
Yeah.
turn off your target audience. It would attract recruiters.
Gotcha. So if I'm looking for a job, so if I go back and when I was first on there, I was like, okay, I want to be when I was happy. Actually, when I was happy in my role, I really didn't spend any time on LinkedIn. But what I should have been doing is been building my personal brand. And
Because what
then,
happens
right.
is people who are building their personal brand, they're nurturing their network, they never
Yeah,
have to look for a job because jobs find them, right? Because
that makes sense. Yeah.
opportunities have a chance of they just drop in your lap, which is a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you want to make sure that the messaging is correct.
Right.
Because, if you're out there as that salesperson, you're reaching out to prospects, right?
And they're going to look you up, like you were saying, and say, wait a minute,
Yeah,
Chris is all about sales. What about me? What about us? Is he
exactly.
trying
Does
to
he know
accomplish
my
also?
industry? Is he a a pertinent part of what I'm doing, and how does he know my pain points? Does he know what my process is? No, it looks like he just wants to sell, right? So
Gotcha.
so you need to know your strategy, your goal. What are you really trying to accomplish? Two,
Gotcha.
you need to know your target audience and what they need to know
Yeah.
about you. You also need to know about your keywords. If a person is searching for someone like you, what words are they putting in there?
Got
Because
it.
if your keywords are not in that profile, we're never going to collide with opportunity.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Yeah.
So
And
that's the SOAR. That's the
that's the
S
SOAR.
part.
And
That's the
just
S part of SOAR.
yeah, as a follow up to that. So I'm with a company for 10 years. I've been building my personal brand, and interacting with my customers on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And I've been successful. Now I want to move into a different role. I want to go from a sales role to a leadership role. Do I then change my strategy? Do I change my profile to match up with that?
You do.
Okay.
So
So then
what
you
you
start to
want is
shift.
you start to shift. So now we go back. So we start SOAR again. So we start with S, strategy. What is strategy? Who's my, and
Got it.
try to figure that out. And then we go to O for optimize, which is optimize the LinkedIn profile. So
Got it.
write it very specifically to your audience, to your goal, with your keywords in mind. And you want it to be future facing. You don't want it to be an
Okay.
obituary, right? You don't want it to be an obituary of all the
Hmm.
things that you've done.
Yeah.
You really want it to be,
Act as if is what I always used to say. Like
yeah,
act as if you're in that next role already.
you got it. Because
Gotcha.
otherwise you get pigeonholed, right? If you brand
Makes
yourself
sense.
so perfectly for who you are and what you're doing at this exact moment, you're
Sure.
never going to get those opportunities for that next role, that next chapter.
That makes sense. Absolutely. That makes
All right.
sense. Now, what about somebody that says, well, Chris, I'm concerned that my boss is going to see me becoming more active on LinkedIn. Um, is that
It
is that a
happens.
real
Yeah.
Is that realistic? Or, I actually had one of my coaching clients was asking about this.
Yeah. And it's a great question. And it's something that people are worried about or concerned by. Now, when clients come to me and they say that, this is what I say to them, which is one, almost in almost all situations, when we're branding a person, we're not branding them as a desperate job seeker, right? Because that's not, no one wants to hire a desperate job seeker.
No.
So it's not, you should never be branding yourself in that manner. And that would raise red flags. Absolutely. It would. But typically, it's really about branding and reputation management, in branding. It's in putting you forward, in that future manner that we were just talking about.
That makes sense.
And branding is important, right? For that employer, they need to understand that their clients are looking at their employees, and their employees are a number one asset.
Yeah.
You don't want them to look terrible.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, you don't want them poached, but if you keep them happy and they're posting about how great the organization is, how healthy, how wonderful, and you're going to have, showcase your best, you attract the best. And that's prospects, that's job candidates, that's partnerships, that's investors, that's media inquiries, it's all those good things.
So that may be something, if you're a leader, if you're out there and you have employees, looking at what Donna's talking about, whether you're interested in building your own personal brand or even your team's brand, can be very powerful. And I think, some of the things you say lead into the A part of SOAR, which is, like we were talking about, building that network. You don't want to wait until you need a job. You want to start early, right? And A is for
the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah.
So A is amplify. Yeah. In order to amplify your message, in order to network, you have to have, that network of people. You need to have those connections. And it's something that you never stop doing. It's like that old Glengarry Glen Rossi salesperson, that movie, always be closing. No,
coffee's for closers, Donna.
Coffee is for closers. I've got my coffee mug here, but I say always be connecting. Always be connecting.
Oh,
I shift it just a little bit.
That's so good. Always be connecting.
Always be connecting. ABC.
Yeah.
And it's those connections that allow you to show up in a wider range of searches too. Because, with LinkedIn, a person is searching, they're searching their LinkedIn network. That's the first, second, and third degree connections.
Yeah.
So if you want to appear in more searches, keyword-based, not name-based, but keyword-based searches, you need to have, a strong network that supports it.
That makes perfect sense. So SOA and the last R.
R is relate. And what I mean by that is, now you have your strategy, you have this beautiful profile, you've got a strong network that you're feeding and you're nurturing and you're growing. Well, now you got to get active, and and it's not about just promoting yourself, right? It's really about relating to other people. It's giving, it's adding value, it's giving advice, it's showing up and helping and educating and inspiring. And when you do that, people are going to resonate to it, and they're going to connect, going to comment, and they're going to like, and they're going to repost. And the idea is that there's this back and forth, there's these conversations taking place. Yeah. And that's what really allows your posts to do really well. When you look at what LinkedIn has stated about their feed, their LinkedIn feed, that home feed, they say people talking about the things you care about. I think there's so much in there. So you want to be talking about relevant, interesting things that your network cares about. Right. You want them engaging with you. And when that happens, that's when good things really start to explode.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I know, and I'm sure a lot of other people are listening as well, and they're saying, well, wait a minute, like I'm like you, Donna. I'm like you or Chris, right? Or you or Donna, I'm like you or Chris. I'm out there selling, I'm working, I'm making the phone calls, I'm out there, I'm in the field, or maybe in the OR as I was a lot of years. I don't have time to be on LinkedIn and I don't even go on Facebook or whatever people go on these days, right? TikTok and Twitter and everything. But how do you, how much time does it take to do this? How long, is there some best practices when it comes to these sorts of things?
There is a beauty to LinkedIn. And
Okay.
I think it's because it's a professional network, right? It's not there for posting pictures of your kid's soccer team.
Right.
It's
Yeah, I found
it's
like I especially hate when people are like getting into politics and stuff on LinkedIn. I'm like, come on.
you can turn that off in the settings. Did you know that? You can turn off political content.
Perfect. I'm going to do that.
I'll take you
I try
there.
to, I did that on my TV. I did that on, I'm going to do it on LinkedIn. I do it on Facebook. This is perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can absolutely, there's actually a toggle. I'm not even joking. You can turn that off, which I love. But because it's a professional network,
Yeah.
I think there's this just a practicality where LinkedIn says, you don't have to post like 10 times a day. And in fact, if you try to post 10 times a day,
It
your
pushes you
posts don't
down.
do as well. They
Yeah.
just don't do well at all.
Yeah.
They want you to post only good, pertinent, relevant, quality content.
Right.
And if that's once a week, that's once every weeks, that's fabulous. It's just do something consistent, check in and just make sure you're checking in. Like it's once a week and you're going to post something.
Yeah.
And if you do pop back in there, comment on what other people are posting. So it's not like you have to
I
be
like
this
that.
huge content creator all day long every day, but just say to yourself, what can I manage? Can I manage once a week or once every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I think you can. I
Oh
think
yeah.
you
That's
can.
totally, yeah, totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. So Donna, what is it exactly that you and your company do to help people with this?
We write LinkedIn profiles. So we help
Okay.
people write about themselves and
Yeah.
optimize that profile. So it's really truly a professional manifesto and not that obituary, right? So we help them
Okay.
with that.
Yeah.
We also have courses, and we have courses that also take you through how to find your message, how to find that story, how to optimize that profile so you collide with opportunity. And we also
Awesome.
have courses on getting loud on LinkedIn. So it's not just about pushing out content, but how do you create really strategic content that is going to catch and get seen by the right eyes?
Yeah. No, I love it. And knowing, I mean, you made a couple comments. You're like, hey, here's the algorithm. If you don't know, if you don't understand what these algorithms are on LinkedIn, you need to take a look at your profile. What's the best way to check out your website, Donna, to get in touch with you all? For somebody to say, okay, how do I do this? What are some initial steps I can take?
They can visit me on LinkedIn. So just look up
Yeah.
Donna Serdula. And, once you follow me, a little bell pops up on my profile. If you click that bell, you'll get my updates as
Ooh.
notifications. So that's a nice way to really stay in touch because it's easy to lose track of people within the LinkedIn feed. So if you hit that bell, you'll be notified of
There it
my
is.
most
Perfect.
popular posts.
Yeah.
My website, linkedin-makeover.com. Check out my free tools. I have so many really amazing free resources. My three favorite, I put three. I have a LinkedIn headline generator that actually generates with just a couple clicks a fabulous headline that
Oh,
optimizes
sweet.
your profile and gets people compelled to click and to read more about you. I also have a text formatter. So if you are posting on LinkedIn or you're doing some work on your profile, you want something bold or italicized, this will generate faux text for you because LinkedIn allows no formatting whatsoever.
Yeah.
The third thing, which I'm very, very proud of, is I know it's hard to come up with ideas for posts. So I created a post idea generator. And you click,
Wow.
I give 3 ideas for posts every day, and it's always changing. But you can get an idea. It's an inspiration prompt. It's just something that you can take and use to create something that will get your network engaged and
Love it.
interested.
We love to say automate authenticity. And,
Oh, I love that.
I like to tell people, just it doesn't have to be inauthentic just because it's automatic. It's like
Mm,
somebody's birthday. If it's your birthday, Donna, it's going to pop up on my calendar and I'm going to say, Donna, happy birthday. That's
mm,
automatic, but it's also authentic. And I love
yeah.
what you're doing. You're providing an automatic way for people to generate an authentic response or connection with people, which I think
You know
is
what it
super
is?
cool.
It's almost like there's the copy, there's the
Yeah.
paste, but then there's the tweak. And the tweak is what makes it authentic.
I love that. I love that. And your new course, Loud on LinkedIn, right? It just released. I think you have a special offer for listeners today for that.
Yeah, we do. So visit the website, click on the Loud on LinkedIn course, and in the promo code, type in next level, and you guys will be surprised with what we have for you.
Awesome. Well, Donna, I'm excited to jump in. I've been going through your book here. I loved having you on. Again, I'm a little biased being in sales for almost 20 years of my life. I think I got a lot of value off of LinkedIn, the connections that I made there, the ability to network. I use it in a different way now. So I've had to relearn a lot of these things. So if you're overwhelmed, if you've heard what Donna has to say and you're like, wow, I should be doing that, or I'm in a different phase in my career, I need to start using LinkedIn in a different way. Reach out to Donna one more time. Donna, what's your best website?
LinkedIn-makeover.com.
Perfect. And that's going to be in the show notes here, along with the next level code that she provided. Reach out to Donna and see if you can update your LinkedIn and find ways to generate more value in your life and your career with it. Donna, thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.